Now let's go on to the science and tech section. The first question, again, science and tech also has kept much in pattern. We have around 13 questions even for your science and tech. We have around 13 questions for your science and tech. So you will see that here. The first question, and again, there's a lot of questions. I was just telling the team over here, lot of questions on alternate fuel. Keep that in mind, those who are attempting next year's exam, alternate fuels have been asked. So without much delay, let's go to the first question. The first question says, consider the following types of vehicles. Full battery electric vehicle, hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, fuel cell electric hybrid vehicle. Okay, looks very complicated, but the question is actually very simple. How many of the above are considered as alternative powertrain vehicles? See, don't get confused over here. This is actually a very technical term to get introduced to a UPSC aspirant, but understand, powertrain just simply means, so there are two types of mechanisms by which a vehicle moves. Something called as a powertrain, and then there is drivetrain. Okay, so powertrain primarily means that the power is generated in one source, and the generated source transfer the power to the engine, and the engine drives the vehicle forward. Sounds familiar? This is what almost all our vehicles are. Okay, it's not some out of the world technology they have introduced over here. Powertrain just means that there is a battery and the battery powers and the vehicle is propelled forward. Okay, as opposed to drivetrain, where in drivetrain there is a small extra technicality where it's not the engine directly propelling the vehicle forward. Okay, so here your powertrain vehicles are almost all the vehicles that we see today, be it your normal engine vehicles, your fuel cell, your electric vehicle, your hydrogen fuel cell, all of these are powertrain vehicles. So the answer to the question is all three. Okay, C. Moving forward. With reference to unmanned aerial vehicles, consider the following statements. Now again, this is a little bit of, there is a doubt that comes about, but let's try to see this. All types of UAVs can do vertical landing. Vertical landing is coming straight to and fixing at a point over there, but that is not the case. See, the primary difference between your unmanned or indifferences which is there in your unmanned aerial vehicles is some of them are micro drone vehicles, and some of them are, you have situations where you have larger drones, larger unmanned air vehicles that are there. Now, when you look at your all types of UAVs can do vertical landing, that is wrong. Why? Because certain smaller unmanned aerial vehicles cannot do vertical landing. So that is wrong. All types of UAVs can do automated hovering. Automated hovering means moving over an area by the fixed designated points that are there. You already program the drone to move in a certain area. But again, not all unmanned aerial vehicles can do that. So again, that is wrong. All types of UAVs can use battery only as source of power supply. It just means that only battery can be used as a source of power supply, but that again need not be the case. So here, when you look at your second question with respect to your science and tech, we are now going with the answer. None of the given statements above are correct. Okay, so the answer to this question is D, none. Moving forward, the next question is in context of electric vehicle batteries. Again, something that is alternate tech that is there. In the context of electric vehicle batteries, which of the following usually make a battery cathode? Going back to your science, which is there in your 11th and 12th. So you have anode, you have cathode. The idea is certain electrons come out, this gives out, and this cyclic mechanism is what generates extra electrons, and that extra electrons is what comes out as electricity from a battery. Now, if you look at all of these metals, we hear lithium battery, nickel battery, cobalt battery. Now, understand, all of these terms that we normally hear are actually your cathodes. but graphite actually is an anode that is used. Okay, so graphite has a lot of carbon to be giving out, so this is the reason why graphite is used as a anode. You will see over here how many of them usually make up cathodes. Only 3 of them can make up cathodes. The answer to this question is C. Moving forward, which of the following contain plastic? Very commonsensical, very direct question which is there. Cigarette butts, eyeglass lenses, car tires. Okay, so understand in all of these 3, you have cigarette butts. Again, there was a news last year which said that from your cigarette smoking and things, you have so much of microplastics released which cause pollution. So if microplastics have to be released in the cigarette butt, there should be plastic, right? So that's correct. Eyeglass lenses, it's not just made of your glass. You will have components of several, giving it a quality of unbreakableness, etc. So you have plastic in that. Even in car tires, you have certain types of plastic, not the plastic that you normally see, extensive, very modified forms of plastic. So the answer to this question is C, all the 3. Moving forward, we have again a question called as coal gasification. What exactly is this coal gasification? This is actually your 5th question in your set B. Consider the following substances. You have ethanol, nitroglycerine and urea. Okay, and they are asking coal gasification technology can be used in the production of how many of them? Now, here is where you have to understand coal gasification primarily means that you are, whatever is the production after your production of coal, whatever byproducts you get, you combine it with certain elements of hydrogen, etc. and you create something called as syngas. And this syngas is not as polluting as your other elements. So what happens is the syngas is thereafter then used for certain other products that you want to produce. And this is where the important thing is. Syngas is actually directly used in the production of fertilizers and therefore you have urea coming in it. Syngas is actually directly used in the production of methanol, and after methanol is produced, then it is used to produce ethanol. So you can say coal gasification indirectly produces ethanol. Okay, so indirectly produces ethanol. One thing that's clearly no over here is nitroglycerine. Nitroglycerine is actually a major component of certain explosives, etc. Nitroglycerine is not something that is produced after coal gasification. So that is clear to us. The only doubtful part is if ethanol is also going to get included in this or not, because ethanol, the indirect production of your coal gasification or no, indirect production of your ethanol happens using coal gasification. So this is the doubtful part. Anyway, using our better judgment and putting all the trust in UPSC, we have gone with the answer 1 and 2. That means how many of them means? Only 2. The answer to the 5th question we've marked as B, but again I'm telling you this is the catch point over here. Okay. Moving forward, it's a very direct question, which is the common characteristics of the chemical substances generally known as Cl20, HMX, LLM 105 that are there. So this was very frequently there in the several war conditions, etc. The answer to this 6th question is B. Okay, these are explosives in military weapons. Moving forward, consider the following statements. They are talking about quantum computing. Let's read all the questions. It is expected that Majorna 1 chip will enable quantum computing. Okay. Second statement is Majorna 1 chip has been introduced by Amazon Web Services. That is wrong. Okay. Again, understand Amazon is actually just a, it's an integrating platform. The actual tech giants are your Intel and your Microsoft and your Google and everything. So this is wrong. Majorna is actually created by Microsoft. And deep learning is a subset of machine learning. Something, again, I'm very happy that those who attended the class could solve, because I always show this diagram where there's artificial intelligence, then there is a machine learning thing, and inside the machine learning, the subset is your deep learning. So third statement is correct. Second statement is wrong. When you look at your first statement again, you will see this is also correct. It is used for quantum computing. The answer to the question is 1 and 3 only. Now moving on to the 8th question. Again, this was in this year's health class when we had taken science and tech. There were a lot of very inquisitive students, and monoclonal antibodies was actually asked as a question way back in your 2015-14 period. So again, you know, there is this time gap where you expect, okay, it's time that question came back. And right at that time, there was a current affair also. So this was also a predicted question. Happy about it. Again, with reference to the monoclonal antibodies often mentioned in news, consider the following statements. Monoclonal antibodies are something that are artificially manufactured. Okay, they are man-made proteins, and they can actually help to have any kind of immunological function against any specific antigens. That means if any specific thing has to be attacked, this you can make it specifically for that disease. This was also discussed when COVID was spreading. Why? Because each variant of COVID was different. So even if slight changes were there, we could actually create monoclonal antibodies to try to treat the COVID. But then obviously we were also involved in vaccine research and everything. So that also happened. Now coming into this particular statement, they are man-made proteins. They stimulate immunological function. That means it helps the immune system to start fighting. That is also there. They are used in treating viral infections like Nipah. This, my dear students, was the current affair. Okay, so it was discussed that, you know, a lot of these technologies could be used to create like your Ebola, your Nipah, any abrupt diseases that come. You can use your monoclonal antibodies for this particular treatment. And the answer to this question is 1, 2, and 3. I really hope all my students wrote this, because we've spent time discussing this. Oh, the virus question. Question number 9 that is there in your science and tech. Consider the following statements. This is one thing that when we take in our class, we say virus, bacteria, fungi. If you don't know the exception for these things, go with your better judgment. So when you look at this over here, they're saying no virus can survive in ocean waters. Why not? Okay, virus can survive in any particular situation where there's not an active antiviral agent that is there. You have marine viruses. That statement is correct. No virus can infect bacteria. That again is wrong, because you have a very cruel looking virus called as your bacteriophage, which specifically tries to attack your bacteria. So that is also there. Then, I mean, that's no virus can infect bacteria. That statement is wrong. No virus can survive in the ocean. That is also wrong. Wrong, guys, okay? No virus can change the cellular transcriptional activity in host cells. For those who are beginners, this seems like a very complicated statement, but trust me, one of the first classes of our biotech deals with the idea that, you know, there is something called as transcription in our body cells that helps us to have our features. Like, for example, if I am having curly hair and black eyes and everything, it's because of two major processes called as transcription and translation. And your virus can actually attack when it enters into our body. It can interfere with both of these processes, transcription and translation. That means what? If they interfere with both of these, for example, in my body, if I'm taking in oxygen, and my body is feeling good, it's because of transcription and translation happening at some level. The virus is entering and trying to mess up with transcription. Means what? My body will not perform it in the same manner. My body will not, it will not take in oxygen. I will not feel good in the same manner. That means the viruses have the ability to do this. And we discuss all this detailedly, but understand no virus can change the cellular transcriptional activity is a wrong statement. That means which of the statements above are correct? None of them are correct. We are nearing to the end of our science and tech questions. This again, Gagan technology. If any of my students whom I have taught in class are watching this, can you just say in the comment that you've attended this Gagan question? Because we've spent so much time discussing what is Gagan, where all it's used. Just give me a thumbs up or something if you have attended this question right. Okay. GPS aided geo-augmented navigation system, Gagan, uses a system of ground stations to provide necessary augmentation. Which of the following statements is or are correct with respect to Gagan? First of all, understand, Gagan was a system that we designed primarily because we were using GPS for all our movements. Okay, now GPS is good. But obviously, we've had trouble with GPS. You all know, GPS does not give you minute, accurate, correct values at sometimes. And when you're flying your aircraft and everything, you need accurate values. So what we created is Gagan system, which uses the GPS signal. In very simple terms, we use the GPS signal and we correct it, based on our need. So that's why it's called as GPS aided geo-augmented system. So if you look at it, it's designed to provide additional accuracy and integrity. Correct. It will allow more uniform and high quality air traffic management. Correct. The third statement is where my contribution comes in. It will provide benefits only in aviation, but not in other modes of transportation. And here is where the catch is, guys, because when we created Gagan, initially itself, we said we're going to use it for air traffic control and also in unmanned railway crossings. In areas where you have unmanned railway crossings, there also you're going to use Gagan to clarify these areas. That means your statement third is wrong. It will provide even in your railways. But 1 and 2 is correct. The answer to the question is D. Where are my students? Anyone who's attending the live at least right now, if you've attended this question correct, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Okay. Then coming to the next question, again, something when in the science world, we have always been talking in the last 2-3 years about the Gaganyaan mission. And one thing I keep telling students is, Gaganyaan is going to be one of the most important missions that India will do in the coming years. Every single tech that ISRO is trying out right now will have some or the other bearing on your Gagan. And we are doing specifically for your Gaganyaan, not Gagan, Gaganyaan mission. So when you look at this, they said, consider the following space missions. Axiom 4, SpadeX, Gaganyaan. How many of the space missions given above encourage and support microgravity research? What is the meaning of microgravity research? Microgravity research primarily means that if someone is functioning in extremely low gravity, especially when you're sending humans into space, normally if you're sending a technology or anything that can withstand the variations in gravity, it's fine. But if you're sending humans, even slight changes in gravity can affect your physiological systems in a different way. So then you have to study in detail, like what is going to be the effect of low gravity, what is going to be the effect of less gravity, etc. Now, Axiom, SpadeX and some people might say, oh, SpadeX is just a space docking system. Understand, space docking, why did we even do that? We did that primarily so that our Gaganyaan mission is going to be perfect. Okay, so SpadeX, the reason mission that we have incorporated with foreign collaboration, Axiom 4, Gaganyaan, all of them actually have compounds or components to study about microgravity. Why are we studying about microgravity? Because we are sending humans into space. Okay, so the answer to this question is all the 3. Moving forward, the next question is with reference to India's defense, which again, this is one statement where I think all of you who have been following the defense activities correctly would be having a knowledge about. With reference to India's defense, consider the following pairs. Dornier 228 is a maritime, the description is given, maritime patrol aircraft. IL-76 supersonic combat aircraft. C-17 Globemaster 3 military transport aircraft. How many of the pairs given above are correctly matched? You can very easily come to the conclusion only 2 of them are correctly matched in this list. Finally, the last question in science and tech, artificial rain or artificial way of causing rainfall to reduce air pollution makes use of. So one thing that I have always told in classes, you have silver iodide that is always used in artificial rain. Now, there are 2 options with silver iodide and potassium iodide, silver iodide and potassium nitrate. Out of the 2, when it comes to this particular thing, the artificial rain is created using silver iodide and potassium iodide. So, the answer to the question is A. So, with that, we come to an end of questions of environment, science and tech and current affair. I hope all of you have done. I know it's a difficult paper, but then I hope those who have written it have some amount of hope left in. Why? Because again, if the paper is difficult, as you know, the cutoff will come, it will be a little bit more attainable for the large number of students. So then I hope that works out well for you. Okay, all the best, dear students. Now we move on to the next subject discussion. Thank you.